You shared with me that last week you had an opportunity to attend your first advisory council meeting of leanin.org. And I'd like to maybe close on that topic by really talking about, here you have your career didn't go the direction you initially planned it to go, and yet look at the accomplishments. You had incredible mentors that I know. You made, as you said, you worked hard. You did your job. You did your job exceptionally well. And then you also were able to recognize the opportunities as they came along. So I think that you're a great role model for a lot of the young women who are out there starting their careers, ending up in that first job they didn't think that they were going to have. And now that's being recognized with your appointment to the advisory council for leanin.org. Where does the promotion of women fit in to where you are now? What role did it have as you were coming up through the ranks? And where else do we need to go? We talked about sexual harassment, but I just mean in terms of women in the workplace, women in the military.
Well, first of all, as a woman and coming up through an era where the laws, by and large, were equal, and so there were no legal barriers per se. Nonetheless, I am a woman who has operated throughout my entire life, my entire career, mostly in a man's world. So the military is a heavily male environment. Capitol Hill, the staff of the committee at the time, I was one of 2 women on a staff of maybe 50. And I also know what it feels like to be among the youngest at some of these things along the way. Can't say that anymore, but...
Well, I'll add that oftentimes you're probably the only woman in the boardroom a lot of times too.
Well, I'm not the only one on my boards,
That's good.
But
Yeah.
it's still in the minority.
Yeah.
So it's also important, and I try to remind young women that I never try to outman the man. And I always try to play to my strengths. And of course, that's why you're part of a team. It's recognition that not everybody is strong at everything. And so the key thing is, how do you operate within a team environment? You don't have to have all the answers, but you probably ought to have 1 or 2 of the answers so that you're participatory. And even if you don't have an answer, you hopefully have a thought process and an approach that you can ask some of the questions to get the team thinking. And then of course, as the leader, your job is to have some of the answers. You have to have the vision, you have to have a notion of the strategy, but once again, you need to rely on the team. And when I was Secretary of the Air Force, again, I tried to play to my strengths. Yes. I knew budget aspects, I knew Capitol Hill, I knew how to maneuver bureaucratically in the Pentagon. I was a business person, and a lot of the business of defense, of course, depends on corporations across the country producing for us. So I had those skills, but I didn't try to out-combat pilot the combat pilot, because I've never been in combat, you see. So it's play to your strengths and then use your team in other ways. So that's a lesson learned. And the other thing I try to tell people, it gets back to what I call the zigzag. Life is going to throw you curveballs, and that's true both personally and professionally. And it's okay to crash because we're all humans and we all get down. But it's important to get yourself back up again as quickly as you can. And if plan A doesn't work out, what's your plan B? And open your eyes to possibilities that perhaps you didn't think about or weren't attractive. You never know what will catch on. And this is exactly what happened with me and the military. Wasn't particularly interested, but I got into it because something else didn't work out. And then it turned out to be fascinating. And one thing led to the next, and before you know it, I have spent 35 years both in government and in industry, and it's all been focused in the national security space. When I was Secretary of the Air Force, I had the chance to meet John Kerry, who at that point was the Secretary of State. And it was all I could do to contain myself and to not say, thank you, that you didn't pick me 35 years ago to be in the State Department. Because if you had, I can't imagine that I would have had a more fulfilling career, a greater sense of purpose in my life, and the experiences or the people that I have had and met and worked with in my career in national security in the military.
This has been a real honor, and I appreciate
No, my
I've
pleasure.
appreciated our friendship over the last 10 years. And You are both a role model and a guide
Oh
to
my
me.
goodness.
So thank
Wow,
you.
Thank you. Thank you.